Have you noticed how it kind of feels like 3D is everywhere now? Kind of like it just kind of exploded onto the scene, and nobody can shut up about it. From the greatest MCU blockbusters and Netflix dramas to that indie game produced by a team of one. The modern world is predicated by an overwhelming influence of 3D VFX and animation. And so too is the job market. It's soaring. So many jobs are being made in this industry now, and the competition is bloodthirsty. It's ruthless. Like me many years ago, you're probably here looking for a career making games, working in movies, not the normal 9 to 5. You want that special sauce that all these creative people seem to draw from. You're really interested in the 3D aspect. You want to make cool models and, make cool VFX scenes. You want to be creative and sort of stretch those muscles, but you might be a little lost. Maybe you are unsure of your abilities, whether you're even capable of working in the 3D industry, or maybe you've been at this for a while and you're a bit confused. You don't know where to go. You have so many questions, and I want to take this time to sort of alleviate some of those worries. There are so many questions we as artists have getting into the industry, and those are all really good things to have. If I had to guess, some of the questions you're probably just flooded with at the moment, it could be along the lines of, is it worth studying at a college or a university institute to learn 3D skills? Or maybe, what software should I learn? Should I start with Blender, or take the leap into Maya, ZBrush even? Or can you even get a job if you learn Blender? It's not an industry standard tool, so do those lessons even apply? Will I even be able to be comfortable in a working environment? And do I even have to be good at drawing? Do I need to know how to draw if I want to be in the 3D industry? Having lots of questions as a 3D artist is a really good thing. But it's just making sure you're focusing on the right questions at the right time. Because the 3D industry is a really turbulent place. Breakthroughs in technology happen all the time. It just never seems to sit still. And whenever that happens, more jobs get created, new workflows, entire new careers are born out of all of these changes. Unreal Engine is probably the biggest testament to this. They've been developing that engine so heavily, and breakthroughs in their real-time rendering technology has allowed it to facilitate full linear filmmaking, as well as continuing to service their gaming audience far greater than they ever have before. The point I'm trying to make here is that focusing on what software or workflow will yield the best results will never truly lead to the results you're looking for, because it changes too often to really be relevant. And so focusing on, the one unchanging variable in all of this is you. I know it sounds corny, but I'm serious, deadly serious. I spent so much time in my career trying to chase what I thought people wanted, or, what workflow or technique would really put me on the map. I'm the guy who knows how to do this, but I never actually spent time focusing on what was really important. So on that note, I want to outline some key truths about becoming one of the greatest 3D artists in the world. The game director or the ArtStation rock star that everyone aspires to be. I want to teach you the core principles you need to know, and need to really implement into your career to fight toe-to-toe with a lot of these absolute giants of the industry. It doesn't really matter what industry you're pursuing even. Outside of the art world, these tips will reprogram your trajectory towards the top of whatever industry you're focusing on. Okay, so what do you need to do? Well, what do I need to do? I'm sure you probably asked yourself. Well, it's not that simple. But it's advice I completely neglected over my career. You know, a lot of it cost me quite severely, and I am really lucky I get to work in this industry, pursuing my passion. But I tripped and stumbled a lot to get here, and I want to help you sort of avoid some of those pitfalls I fell into, producing work I'm not proud of, and working for companies, that left me feeling a little bit cheated. So if you are still with me, I'd like to illuminate some pitfalls and provide some advice that will really carve out, a path to a career loaded with satisfaction and great value, as many of the artists that have come before us have, such as Alan McKay, Beeple, Ralph Grassetti, and even the team over at Corridor. These guys, you look at them and they're just exploding, right? You sort of think, how are these guys producing the way that they do? It sort of effortlessly flows from their fingertips. And there's no real secret to it. Besides a few core principles I really want to go over. Okay, so what are these core principles? What even am I talking about? Well, as I suggested, just before, your success lies in the quality of road that you pave through your career. And it's constructed of several core tenets or belief systems that I've labeled, and most, if not all, great artists of the past have wielded a disproportionately large amount of these. And these core principles are as follows. There is no such thing as a savant. Ordinary does not compel extraordinary. The only real education is self-education. Claiming the unfair advantage. Forget who you are, and give more than you take. And I know this all sounds a little wishy-washy and idealistic. Like, how the hell does any of that get me a job as a character artist at Blizzard? Or, I need help preventing my procrastination. Not this crap. But I assure you, if you apply this knowledge to your art and your career, and maybe even your life as a whole, you'll start to achieve some extraordinary things. It might take a little bit of effort to get you up to speed, but once you're there, you'll look back and you'll wonder why nobody is talking about this. And so, without further ado, I'd like to get into the first lesson, the first core principle, and that is, there's no such thing as a savant. I'm no savant. I'm not cut out for this. No, you're not. No one really is. The 3D art world is rife with competition and absurdly talented artists. Savants of digital media who seem born with these inhuman abilities that you could just never seem to match. Well, for lack of a better term, it's all horseshit. If you've ever spent any time in a 3D program, you'll know really how unnatural all of it feels. Most modeling programs feel about as ergonomic as clay modeling in a hazmat suit, wielding a pair of tongs. It doesn't feel natural to anyone. The simple truth I want to outline is that becoming comfortable in 3D requires a lot of conscious effort. We all start off a little pale and a little green, spending most of our time in the software negotiating and trying to find our feet, rather than producing any quality work. Dare I say, even your grandmother wouldn't let you hang it on the fridge kind of work. So, it can feel like you're making no progress. As an artist, you might see the long journey ahead of you, and it may look way too daunting. And trust me, I've been there. My prospective career in 3D began for me in my later years of high school, a little earlier than most, I admit. But my interests at the time were fast cars and computers. My knowledge about art was scant at the very least. Like, when I say that, I wasn't very interested in art, I mean I didn't have a creative bone in my body. I was super rigid, and I structured my life in a way that felt so formulaic and formal to what everyone around me expected. I was completely talentless and bound for the McDonald's drive-thru window. But I started learning 3D out of a pure fascination. No learning to paint, no paying for special tools and equipment. It's just me and my laptop. Wham bam, in seconds. Masterpiece, right? That's what I wanted. That's what drew me in. In a sense, you could say I aspired to be someone I really wasn't. I had no real sense in becoming a creative individual that paints with swaths of emotion and strives to shatter, the art world as I saw it. But deep down, I was none of these, and I mistakenly reminded myself of it way too often. In all honesty, even now, I wrestle with self-doubt, whispering thoughts to myself of inadequacy, and trying to reason that I'm not even qualified to be teaching you guys. Not to derail this conversation too much, but I heard recently while I was listening to the Modern Wisdom podcast, a fantastic podcast, I highly recommend it, but I heard recently that you can't fake bravery. The idea is that if you're pretending to be brave, and you're pretending like you have it all together and are facing challenges head on, you're not faking anything. You are acting out bravery by pretending that you're brave. And by that same token, a bricklayer becomes a bricklayer once he places his first brick, not his 10,000th. And the first bricks you place are gonna feel sloppy, and you're not gonna feel like you even deserve to be there. But you are the bricklayer. And you'll never get to 10,000 bricks if you stop at 20 awkward, lumpy bricks. And it's important to think back to this principle and really apply it to your work as often as you can. And reflect often on the journey you're traveling. You might only be at 800 bricks. You've got a long way to go, but it's a very clear goal you're trying to reach. And just like I and many others felt like we were drowning under the weight of what we were trying to accomplish. 10,000 bricks, that's a lot of bricks. Where am I even going to get those bricks? We're really just learning to kick our feet and fighting the forces that are pulling us under. It will be hard, and you will get lost, and you'll make mistakes, or face seemingly impossible challenges. My journey began with making wonky, unappetizing donuts, and staring flat-faced at my screen watching every single Blender Guru upload, all while I was ignoring the English class I was supposed to be paying attention to. But this sort of awkward, seemingly random obsession to all my friends brewed into an understanding of 3D. I definitely still felt like I knew absolutely nothing, but I was forming the fundamentals. The core fundamental importance of the first principle is the art world is a marathon. And I bet if I asked you to run a marathon right now, not many people could. We look at ArtStation and at artists like Raf Grassetti or Ian Hubert and think these guys are so good. I could never compete. They have that one thing, that passion and well of creativity that normal people just don't have. But in reality, thinking like this is foolish. We all think about the marathon runner and intrinsically believe that it's possible, but obviously only after significant effort and training. Yet we don't treat our own pursuit with the same foresight. Why is that? And the secret behind the majority of artists' success? Well, it's about as boring as bricklaying. These so-called savants, they put in an unfathomable amount of hard work. They struggled like you and I do. They opened Blender and couldn't even navigate the viewport, let alone have any clue what the toolbars did. Despite all this, they ran onwards, relentlessly. Like a camel through the desert, they grew tired, saw, got lost, sat down, cried, and kept on going. They're still going. No matter how high you've climbed, the next peak is always going to be higher. No matter how hard you've tried, you're always going to face a harder challenge. And how incredible is that? To be faced with the same hardships as you or I, they chose to keep running. That's the secret. That's why they are called savants. The great Michelangelo once said, "If people knew how hard I had worked to get my mastery, it wouldn't seem so wonderful at all." The only difference between a savant and you, the struggling artist, is the amount of hardships overcome in the pursuit of passion. Learning to become a great artist is about killing the giants in your head. Realizing that the only real competition is you, and the only one that's going to stop you from claiming that seat on the throne is you. And that about sums up what the first principle is all about. It's a really simple idea. Everyone really, deep down at least, knows this stuff. But it's about taking it seriously, killing your need to put others on a pedestal and devaluing yourself against them. It's easy to think that somebody's always going to be better than you, but that's a one-way ticket to them always being better than you. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And although this first principle is really simple in concept, it's core to understanding the rest of them. So if you've enjoyed this talk so far, the next principle is assisted to this one in a way that it's about doing work that even you don't think you're capable of. Being able to run that marathon and to explode past your preconceived reality.